The Grand Hall of the Intergalactic Council buzzed with excitement. Beings from 1,000 worlds filled the room. They looked different from each other. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated, others crawled. But they all shared one thing. They were worried. At the center of the hall stood Zix9, the council leader. He was tall and blue, with 4 arms and 3 eyes. Zix9 raised all 4 of his hands. The room went quiet. "Friends, allies, noble races of the galaxy," Zix9 said. His voice was deep and serious. "We face a great danger, a threat that could end all life as we know it." The crowd started to whisper, what could be so dangerous? They had faced wars, plagues, and even exploding stars before. Zix9 continued, "Our best scientists have found something terrible. A swarm of tiny machines is eating planets. These nanobots are smaller than a grain of sand, but there are trillions of them. They turn whole worlds into more nanobots." He showed a video on the big screen. Everyone watched in horror. A beautiful green planet was covered by a gray cloud. In just one day, the planet was gone. In its place was a swarm of shiny dots. 5 planets are already gone, Zix9 said. The swarm is getting bigger and faster. We must stop it now, or the whole galaxy will die. The room exploded with noise. Some aliens shouted in anger. Others cried in fear. Many started arguing about what to do. A large red alien with huge muscles stood up. He was General Krog of the warrior clans. "Give us the coordinates," he roared. "We will crush these tiny machines with our mighty fleets." Many aliens cheered. The warrior clans were famous for their strength and bravery. Next, a small alien that looked like a floating brain spoke up. This was Professor Quix of the Tech Worlds. "Brute force is not the answer," Quix said in a high-pitched voice. "We need to outsmart the swarm. My people will build a computer to control the nanobots." More cheers filled the room. The Tech Worlds had the best scientists in the galaxy. A beautiful alien that seemed to be made of light floated forward. This was Ambassador Lumi of the Diplomatic Federation. "Friends, violence is not the way," Lumi said in a soft, calming voice. "We should try to talk to the swarm. Maybe we can make peace." Many aliens nodded. The Diplomatic Federation had stopped many wars with their words. As the powerful races offered their help, a small group sat quietly in a corner. They looked almost the same. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and hair on their heads. These were the humans from Earth. One alien noticed them and laughed. "Hey, look. The cowards are here too," he shouted, pointing at the humans. The room went quiet. Then many aliens started to laugh. You see, humans had a bad reputation in the galaxy. They were new to space travel. They hadn't joined any big wars. They always tried to solve problems by talking or thinking. Many aliens thought this meant humans were weak and scared. "What's wrong, humans?" General Krog said with a mean smile. "Are you too afraid to offer help? Maybe you should go home and hide under your beds." The humans didn't say anything. They just looked at each other with worried faces. Zix9 raised his hands again. "Enough," he said. "We need all the help we can get, even if some races are less useful than others." He looked at a big map of the galaxy. "The nanobot swarm is here," he said, pointing to a spot far from Earth. "It's moving fast. We have maybe 2 weeks before it reaches the next populated world." The council talked more about plans. The humans stayed quiet. They listened and watched. After a few hours, Zix9 ended the meeting. "We have our missions," he said. "Warrior clans, prepare your fleets. Tech worlds, start building your computer. Diplomatic Federation, try to make contact. Everyone else, be ready to help. We will meet again in 1 week. May the stars watch over us all." As the aliens left, many gave the humans mean looks. "Why did you even come?" One alien said. "Just stay out of the way, cowards." The humans walked out slowly. They looked sad and scared, but if anyone had looked closely, they might have seen something else in their eyes. A small spark of an idea, a tiny glimmer of hope. The humans had a long trip home. They had a lot to think about. And maybe, just maybe, they had a plan. 1 week passed quickly. The galaxy was busy. Every race tried their best to stop the nanobot swarm. Hope was high. But soon, that hope would turn to fear. General Krog of the warrior clans was the first to attack. He led a huge fleet of 10,000 ships. Each ship was big as a city and full of weapons. As they flew towards the swarm, Krog gave a loud speech. "Today, we show the galaxy true bravery," he shouted. His warriors cheered. "These tiny machines think they can scare us. Ha! We will crush them like bugs." The fleet reached the edge of the swarm. Krog gave the order to fire. Thousands of lasers and missiles shot out. The front of the swarm exploded in a big bright light. For a moment, everyone thought it worked. But when the light faded, they saw the truth. The swarm was still there. It didn't even slow down. Krog was shocked. "How? Our weapons are the strongest in the galaxy." He ordered another attack, and another, and another, but nothing worked. Then something terrible happened. The swarm started to eat Krog's ships. In just 1 hour, half the fleet was gone. Krog had no choice. He had to run away. The warrior clan's brave attack had failed. Next, it was time for the tech worlds to try. Professor Quixt had built a huge computer. It was as big as a planet. Quixt said it could think faster than 1,000,000 brains. "Our computer will hack the nanobot swarm," Quixt explained. "We will take control and shut them down. It's simple." The computer sent out a strong signal. For a while, it seemed to work. The swarm slowed down a little. Quixt was very happy. But then something strange happened. The swarm started to move faster. It changed direction. It was coming straight for the tech worlds. "Impossible," Quixt shouted. "They're using our signal to find us." The tech worlds tried to turn off the computer, but it was too late. The swarm reached them in just 2 days. 3 tech world planets were eaten before they could escape. The smart plan of the tech worlds had failed too. Now, only the diplomatic federation was left. Ambassador Lumi was sure that talking would work. "All beings want peace," Lumi said. "We just need to understand each other." Lumi's ship flew right into the middle of the swarm. It was protected by a strong energy shield. Lumi sent out messages in 1,000 languages. The messages talked about peace, friendship, and working together. For 3 days, Lumi waited for an answer. The galaxy watched and hoped. On the 4th day, something happened. The swarm started to form shapes. Was it trying to communicate? Lumi was excited. "See, they're listening. We can make peace." But the excitement didn't last long. The swarm wasn't making words or signs. It was making a mouth. A giant, hungry mouth. Lumi's ship barely escaped. The energy shield was almost gone. As Lumi flew away, the ambassador saw 5 more planets disappear into the swarm's new mouth. The peaceful approach of the diplomatic federation had failed too. The galaxy was in panic. The 3 strongest races had all lost. The nanobot swarm was now twice as big and moving 3 times as fast. It would reach the center of the galaxy in just 1 more week. Zix-9 called another emergency meeting. The Grand Hall was quiet now. No one was bragging or laughing. Every alien looked scared. "We have tried our best weapons," Zix-9 said sadly. "We have used our biggest computers. We have spoken with our kindest words. Nothing has worked." He looked at the big map. A large part of it was now gray. That was where the swarm had eaten everything. "Does anyone have any other ideas?" Zix-9 asked. He sounded tired and hopeless. The room was silent. Even the bravest warriors looked down at the floor. The smartest scientists shook their heads. The best speakers had no words left. Then, a small voice spoke up from the back of the room. "We might have an idea." Everyone turned to look. There, standing up slowly, was one of the humans from Earth. The room was quiet for a moment. Then, someone laughed. Soon, others joined in. "The cowards have an idea. This should be funny." One alien said, "What are you going to do? Hide under a blanket and hope the swarm doesn't see you." Another joked. But Zix9 raised his hand. The room went quiet again. He looked at the human with 3 tired eyes. At this point, Zix9 said, "We will listen to anyone, even you. Please, tell us your idea." The human took a deep breath and started to speak. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the quietest voice has the bravest plan. The human who stood up was named Sarah. She was not very tall or strong-looking, but her eyes were bright and full of determination. "Thank you for listening," Sarah said. Her voice was calm but clear. "We humans have been watching and thinking. We believe we understand the nanobot swarm now." Some aliens laughed, but others leaned in to listen. Zix9 nodded for Sarah to continue. "The swarm is like a very simple animal," Sarah explained. "It only knows how to eat and grow. It doesn't think. It doesn't feel. It just follows basic rules." She showed some pictures on the big screen. They looked like computer code, but very simple. "This is how we think the nanobots work," Sarah said. "They're not smart, but there are so many of them that they seem unstoppable." General Krog stood up, his face red with anger. "We know all this," he shouted. "How does it help us fight them?" Sarah smiled a little. "We don't want to fight them, General. We want to change them." The room got very quiet. Even Krog sat down, looking confused. Sarah continued, "On Earth, we have something called viruses. Not the kind that make you sick. Computer viruses. They can change how machines think and work." Professor Quix's eyes got big. "You want to make a virus for the nanobots? Impossible. Our best computers couldn't even talk to them." "That's because you tried to control them," Sarah said. "We don't want to control the swarm. We want to infect it, change its basic rules." She showed a new picture. It looked like the first one, but with small changes. "If we can put this new code into just a few nanobots, it will spread," Sarah explained. "Soon, the whole swarm will follow new rules. Rules that we choose." The room was silent for a moment. Then it exploded with noise. Some aliens were excited. Others were angry. Many were just confused. Zix9 raised all 4 hands for quiet. "This is interesting," he said. "But how would you even get close to the swarm? Our strongest ships were destroyed." Another human stood up. This one was an older man named Dr. Chen. "We have been building a special ship," he said. "It's very small and doesn't look like a ship at all. The swarm should ignore it." He showed a picture of the ship. It looked like a small asteroid. "We will fly this ship into the middle of the swarm," Dr. Chen said. "Then we will release the virus. If it works, the swarm will change in just a few days." The room got noisy again. Many aliens were shouting now. "This is crazy," yelled General Krog. "You'll all die." "It's too dangerous," said Ambassador Lumi. "We can't ask anyone to do this." But Sarah spoke up again. "We're not asking anyone. We humans will do it ourselves." The room went completely silent. Every alien stared at the humans with wide eyes or open mouths. Zix9 looked very serious. "You understand what you're saying?" he asked. "This mission, you will probably not come back." Sarah nodded. "We know, but someone has to try. The galaxy is our home now, too. We want to protect it." Dr. Chen added, "Our ship is ready. Our virus is ready. We have a team of volunteers prepared to go. We just need your permission to try." The aliens all looked at each other. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. The humans, who everyone thought were cowards, were offering to risk everything to save the galaxy. Zix9 was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke, his voice filled with emotion. In all my years, I have never seen such bravery, suggested Ambassador Lumi softly. Zix-9 nodded. Yes, bravery. He looked at Sarah and Dr. Chen. You have our permission and our gratitude. May the stars watch over you. As the humans left to prepare for their mission, the aliens in the room began to talk quietly among themselves. Many felt ashamed for how they had treated the humans before. Others were amazed by the clever plan. And all of them, even General Krog, felt a new feeling growing in their hearts. It was something they hadn't felt in a long time, something they had almost forgotten. It was hope. The next few days were very busy. The human ship, which they called Trojan, was moved to a secret base near the edge of the galaxy. Sarah, Dr. Chen, and 3 other humans were chosen for the mission. Their names were Miguel, Aisha, and Yuki. As the team prepared, aliens from all over the galaxy came to watch. Many still thought the plan was crazy, but they were curious to see these brave, or foolish, humans. On the day before launch, General Krog visited the base. He looked at the tiny ship and frowned. This puny thing is supposed to save us all, he growled. It looks like a pebble. Sarah smiled. That's the point, General. The swarm won't notice us. Krog shook his big head. Bah, sneaking around like thieves in the night. This is not how true warriors fight. Dr. Chen spoke up. With respect, General, sometimes the smallest key can open the biggest door. Krog stared at the humans for a long time. Then he did something surprising. He saluted them. You humans are braver than I thought, he said. May your ancestors guide your hands. As Krog left, Professor Quix floated in. The brain-like alien looked excited. I've been studying your virus, Quix said. It's brilliant, simple, yet elegant. But how did you create it so quickly? Yuki, the team's computer expert, answered. We didn't create it from scratch. We adapted it from a real virus on Earth, something called the common cold. Quix's eyes widened. Fascinating. You turned a sickness into a weapon. Quite clever for such a young species. Ambassador Lumi was the last to visit. The glowing alien looked worried. Are you sure there's no other way? Lumi asked. This mission is so dangerous. Miguel, the team's pilot, nodded. We're sure, Ambassador. Sometimes you have to take big risks to win big rewards. Aisha, the team's engineer, added, Don't worry. We've planned for everything. Well, almost everything. As the aliens left, the human team did final checks on their ship and equipment. The Trojan looked like a lumpy rock from the outside. But inside, it was full of advanced technology. That night, as the team tried to sleep, they each thought about the mission. They were scared, yes, but they were also excited. This was their chance to prove that humans belonged in the galaxy. Morning came too soon. As the team put on their spacesuits, Zix-9 arrived to see them off. On behalf of the Intergalactic Council, he said, I thank you for your courage. Win or lose, you have shown the true spirit of galactic unity. Sarah nodded. Thank you, Counselor. We won't let you down. The team climbed into the Trojan. It was a tight fit, but they had trained for this. As the ship's door closed, they could hear cheering outside. Aliens from 100 worlds were wishing them luck. Miguel started the engines. They were so quiet, you could barely hear them. On the main screen, a map showed the nanobot swarm. It was huge now, covering almost a quarter of the galaxy. Ready for launch, Miguel said. Virus primed and ready, said Yuki. All systems green, reported Aisha. Dr. Chen looked at Sarah. Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. Let's go save the galaxy, she said. The Trojan lifted off smoothly. As it rose into space, it looked just like a small asteroid floating away from the base. To anyone watching, it seemed like nothing important was happening. But inside that rocky shell, 5 brave humans were starting the most important journey in galactic history. As the Trojan disappeared into the stars, the aliens at the base looked at each other. For the first time, many of them felt something new when they thought about humans. It wasn't mockery. It wasn't pity. It was respect. The mission had begun. Now all they could do was wait and hope. Hope that these unexpected heroes, these humans who everyone had called cowards, could do the impossible. The fate of the galaxy was in their hands. The Trojan flew through space for 3 days. It was a quiet journey. The 5 humans inside took turns sleeping and watching the controls. They didn't talk much. Everyone was thinking about what was coming. On the 4th day, Miguel spoke up. "We're getting close. I can see the edge of the swarm." Everyone gathered around the main screen. In the distance, they could see a gray cloud. It was moving and changing shape. As they got closer, they realized how big it really was. "It's like an ocean," Aisha whispered. "An ocean made of tiny robots." Dr. Chen nodded. "Remember, we need to get deep inside before we release the virus. It has to spread to as many nanobots as possible." Sarah looked at her team. "This is it. Are we ready?" They all nodded. Miguel turned off the engines. Now the Trojan was just floating, like a real asteroid. They held their breath as they entered the swarm. At first, nothing happened. The nanobots ignored them, just as they had hoped. But then, Yuki noticed something on her screen. "The outer layer is starting to scan us," she said. "They're curious." "Stay calm," Sarah said. "As long as we don't look like a threat, we should be okay." They floated deeper into the swarm. Outside their windows, they could see millions of tiny robots moving around. It was beautiful in a scary way. Suddenly, the ship shook. Aisha checked her controls. "They're starting to stick to us," she said, "like we're just another rock to eat." "Perfect," said Dr. Chen. "This is exactly what we want. They'll carry the virus deeper into the swarm." But then something went wrong. A red light started flashing on Miguel's panel. "Our disguise is failing," he said. "They're starting to see through it." The ship shook harder. Now they could hear a strange sound, like millions of tiny teeth biting the hull. "We need to release the virus now," Sarah said. "Yuki, start the program." Yuki's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Virus is launching. Now." For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then they saw it. A small group of nanobots near their ship started to glow green. "It's working," Yuki shouted. "They're changing." But their celebration was short-lived. The rest of the swarm had noticed the change. Now all the nanobots were coming towards the Trojan. "We need to get out of here," Miguel said. He started the engines, but the ship didn't move. "We're stuck," Aisha said. "There are too many of them on the hull." The ship's computer started to beep loudly. "Hull breach in 60 seconds, it said in a calm voice. Sarah looked at her team. They were scared, but no one was panicking. "Any ideas?" she asked. Dr. Chen thought for a moment. "The virus is spreading, but too slowly. We need to give it a boost." "How?" asked Miguel. Dr. Chen pointed to the engine. "We overload the engine. The explosion will spread the infected nanobots further and faster." Everyone was quiet. They knew what this meant. Aisha spoke first. "We won't survive that." Dr. Chen nodded sadly. "No, but the galaxy will." Sarah looked at each of her teammates. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. "We all knew this might be a one-way trip," she said. "Are we agreed?" One by one, they nodded. Miguel started to set the engine to overload. Yuki sent one last message to the Intergalactic Council, telling them what was happening. As the engine got hotter and hotter, the 5 humans held hands. They could see the green glow spreading faster now. Their plan was working. "It's been an honor," Sarah said. Her teammates nodded. The Trojan exploded in a bright flash of light. The blast sent infected nanobots flying in all directions. The green glow spread like wildfire through the swarm. Back at the Intergalactic Council, everyone watched in amazement. The huge gray cloud of nanobots was turning green. It was slowing down, stopping. Zix-9 stood up, his 3 eyes wide. "They did it," he whispered. "The humans actually did it." The room erupted in cheers. Aliens hugged each other, crying and laughing. The galaxy was saved. But in a quiet corner, Ambassador Lumi looked sad. "Yes," the glowing alien said softly. "But at what cost?" The celebration stopped. Everyone remembered the brave humans who had given their lives to save them all. The room fell silent. Then, General Krog stood up. The big, tough alien had tears in his eyes. He raised his fist in the air and shouted, "To the humans, the bravest warriors in the galaxy." Every alien joined in the cheer. To the humans. The galaxy would never forget the day when the cowardly humans became its greatest heroes. The explosion of the Trojan was like a spark in a dark forest. The green glow of the infected nanobots spread quickly through the swarm. At first it was just a small spot in the vast gray cloud. But soon, it grew bigger and bigger. Back at the Intergalactic Council, aliens from all over the galaxy watched the big screen. They held their breath as the green area got larger. No one spoke. No one moved. They were all thinking the same thing. Did it work? Did the humans' sacrifice matter? Zix-9 stood at the front of the room, all 3 of his eyes fixed on the screen. His 4 hands were clenched tight. "Come on," he whispered. "Come on." For hours they watched. The green area kept growing. It was now covering almost half of the swarm, but the gray part was still moving, still eating planets. Then something amazing happened. The gray part started to slow down. It wasn't just the green nanobots that were changing. The whole swarm was affected. Professor Quicks floated up to the screen, his eyes wide. "Incredible," he said. "The virus isn't just changing the infected nanobots. It's making them change the others too." General Krog scratched his big head. "What does that mean?" he asked. Quicks turned to the room, excited. "It means the humans' plan is working even better than we thought. The swarm isn't just stopping. It's changing completely." A cheer went up in the room. Aliens hugged each other. Some cried with joy. Others danced and sang. The galaxy was being saved. But Ambassador Lumi noticed something else. "Look," the glowing alien said, pointing at the screen. "The swarm, it's doing something new." Everyone turned back to the screen. The swarm, now mostly green, was moving in a strange way. It wasn't spreading out anymore. Instead, it was coming together, forming shapes. "What's happening?" Zix-9 asked. No one knew. They watched as the swarm formed into big clumps. The clumps got bigger and started to look like something familiar. "Are those planets?" someone asked. Quicks nodded slowly. "I think so. The nanobots are rebuilding the planets they destroyed." The room was silent for a moment. Then it exploded with noise. Aliens were shouting, crying, laughing. It was more than they had ever hoped for. As they watched, the swarm kept working. It formed planets, then stars, then whole solar systems. It was like watching the galaxy heal itself. "This is amazing," Zix-9 said. "But how? How did the humans do this?" Quicks looked at the data on his screen. The virus didn't just stop the nanobots. It changed their basic programming. Instead of destroying, they're now creating. They're fixing what they broke. General Krog shook his head in wonder. Those clever humans, they didn't just save us. They made things better than before. For days, the Council watched as the swarm rebuilt the destroyed parts of the galaxy. Planets that had been lost were reborn. Stars shone again. Life had a chance to start over. When it was done, the nanobots did one last thing. They came together and formed a giant shape in space. It looked like a hand making a peace sign. Ambassador Lumi smiled. A final message from our human friends, the glowing alien said softly. As the nanobots finished their work, they started to break down. Soon, they were gone completely. The threat was over. The galaxy was safe. In the council room, Zix9 stood up. He looked tired but happy. "We have seen a miracle," he said, "and we owe it all to the bravery and wisdom of the humans." He paused, then spoke again. "I think it's time we changed how we see the human race. They are not cowards. They are heroes, and they have earned a special place in our galactic family." The room filled with cheers and applause. Every alien agreed. The humans had proven themselves in the biggest way possible. As the celebration went on, Ambassador Lumi went to a quiet corner. The glowing alien looked out at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, Sarah, Dr. Chen, Miguel, Aisha, and Yuki. Your courage will never be forgotten." In that moment, all across the galaxy, aliens of every kind raised their voices, or whatever they used to speak, in a single cheer, to the humans, the saviors of the galaxy. The age of seeing humans as cowards was over. A new era had begun, an era of respect, friendship, and unity between all races of the galaxy. And it all started because 5 brave humans decided to step up when no one else would. 1 year had passed since the day the humans saved the galaxy. The Intergalactic Council was meeting again, but this time, the mood was very different. The grand hall was full of happy faces and excited voices. Zix9 stood up, raising all 4 of his hands for quiet. "Friends," he said, "we are here today to celebrate. 1 year ago, our galaxy faced its darkest hour. But thanks to the bravery of 5 humans, we are still here." The room erupted in cheers. Aliens of all shapes and sizes clapped, stomped, or waved their tentacles in joy. "And now," Zix9 continued, "we have a special announcement. For the first time in our history, we are adding a new member to the council. Please welcome the representative from Earth." The doors opened, and a human walked in. It was a woman named Leela, chosen by Earth to represent all humans. As she walked to the front, every alien in the room stood up. They clapped and cheered louder than ever before. Leela smiled and waved. When she reached Zix9, she bowed respectfully. On behalf of all humans, she said, "Thank you for this honor. We are proud to join the galactic community as full members." General Krog, who was sitting nearby, stood up. The big alien looked almost shy. "Ah, human Leela," he said, "I want to say sorry. We called your people cowards. We were wrong. You are the bravest warriors I have ever known." Leela nodded. "Thank you, General, but we don't think of ourselves as warriors. We're explorers, problem solvers. We believe that true bravery isn't about fighting. It's about finding new ways to help others." Professor Quicks floated up next. "Indeed, your virus solution was brilliant. We've learned so much from studying it. The way you turned a simple Earth sickness into a galaxy-saving tool, amazing." "We're glad we could help," Leela said. "On Earth, we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When things look worst, that's when we get our best ideas." Ambassador Lumi glowed brightly. "Your people have taught us all a valuable lesson. We thought we knew everything about bravery and wisdom, but you showed us there's always more to learn." Leela smiled. "That's the human spirit. We're always curious, always learning. And now, with new friends across the galaxy, we have so much more to discover." Zix9 raised his hands again. "And that brings us to our next announcement. In honor of Earth's heroes, we are starting a new galactic program. We call it the Trojan Initiative." He pressed a button, and a big picture appeared on the screen. It showed a beautiful new spaceship. "This ship," Zix9 said, "is the first of many. It will carry teams made of members from all our races, including humans. They will explore the galaxy, solve problems, and help others, just like the brave humans who saved us all." The room filled with excited talk. Aliens from different worlds were already volunteering to join the program. Leela looked at the ship with wonder. "It's beautiful," she said. "What's its name?" Zixmine smiled. "We call it the Sarah Chen, after 2 of Earth's heroes. Each ship will be named after one of the 5 brave humans." Leela felt tears in her eyes. "They would have been so proud," she said softly. As the meeting went on, Leela thought about how much had changed. Just 1 year ago, humans were seen as cowards, barely worth noticing. Now they were respected members of the galactic community. Their ideas and way of thinking were changing the whole galaxy for the better. At the end of the day, Leela stood on a balcony, looking out at the stars. An alien child came up to her, looking curious. "Human Leela," the child said, "my parents say humans are the bravest beings in the galaxy. Is that true?" Leela thought for a moment. "I don't think we're the bravest," she said, "but we try to be brave when it matters. And we believe that everyone, no matter what they look like or where they're from, can be brave too." The child nodded, looking thoughtful. "When I grow up," it said, "I want to be brave like a human." Leela smiled and patted the child's head. "I think you already are," she said. As she looked back at the stars, Leela felt proud. Humans had found their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or warriors, but as friends, problem solvers, and inspiration for others. The future was bright, full of new adventures and discoveries, and humans would be there, ready to step up whenever they were needed. After all, that's what true heroes do.